Welcome back to Storytime. In today's episode, we're going to be reading stories using the prompt, "You are a B-list superhero on the verge of losing your job. During a battle with a villain, you accidentally end up killing one of the more prolific superheroes of your time. That's when you realize that with your niche power that was useless as a hero, you could be an A-list villain." Today's story comes from user Ruppertfroggington. The grave drowns in bouquets of fresh roses and lilies. Handwritten notes flap their pale, broken wings in the morning breeze. Each scrawled note ends in hearts or kisses. The air is a place of death, perfumed by the scent of flowers, by life. I add my own single rose to the pile. Here lies the question. Better known to her family as Layla Phillips. Saved 1,000 lives, but could not save her own. Sunrise is red and orange, like the colors on her costume, and bleeds over the horizon. The question. My question is why she cared about me at all. I picked up a bouquet of orchids, only half blossomed, and trickled my hand over them. Bright blue flowers, almost electric, pop out of their green sleeves. They wave back and forth, following my palm like there's string between us. I sway the flowers idly as I think back to Layla's death. I'd always been able to make plants grow. Mom used to say that they liked my singing, but it was something deeper inside me that spoke to them. A speck of God trapped inside me, perhaps, and I was just a messenger for it. I'd helped run my parents' farm, those first few years coaxing crops to boost their yield, to shake off bugs and blight alike. Until I was 16, my life was good, if simple. And if life had continued like that, then Layla would still be with me. My parents died to preternatural storm caused by a villain who could manipulate air currents until they whipped and screamed and tore heads from shoulders. I was 16 and suddenly alone. Layla found me, sitting in the smudge of rust-stained dirt that was all that was left of my parents. She was only a few years older than me. She didn't ask how I felt, and didn't look inside my mind to find out, just held out a hand and squeezed mine. A year later, after my therapy was completed, Layla found me for a second time, asked about my power, watched as I grew shrubs from seeds, watched as flowers blossomed and wilted and blossomed and wilted under my yo-yoing palm. "I'd like you to join us," she said, "in our development program to start with. We'll get you coached so that your gift can reach its potential. What do you say?" I said yes, because it was Layla, and maybe I was already in love. I said yes, too, because a no would have left me alone with only my memories. There were no options besides finding work at other farms. I grew her a single rose as a thank you. To think, even then, I knew something inside me had rotted from the day my parents died. I always wonder, if Layla had looked inside me, like she did with others, would she have spotted it? Saved me? Layla was the star of the team, and everyone knew it. Even I'd known it from watching TV, reading papers, listening to gossip. Beloved by millions. As the question, she was able to get inside the heads of villains, cast doubt, sow new thoughts. A power that is useless if the mind using it isn't razor sharp, intelligent, and humble. A mind that can assess other people's in a second and make the right decision. It took 3 years until I was ready. Until I was able to grow not only plants but trees, could rumble the ground and thrust green-tipped spears towards the clouds, could turn branches into bridges and a copse of oaks into a tiered castle. "I'd like you to come with us tonight," Layla said. I couldn't even voice a reply, just a nod. "Good," she said. "I've been watching you, you know. Your improvements have been so quick, it's almost staggering. I'd like to see what you're capable of in a real situation." There were 5 of us that night. The other 3 looked at me with gleaming, jealous eyes, worried I was being lined up to replace them. The woman we fought was strong and armored, her only abilities. An easy fight. A good time to show off, I thought. I thought wrong. I raised a forest of daggers out of the outskirts of a city, then raised more. I couldn't control it or myself. Couldn't stop them growing, couldn't stop my own scream even as Layla took to the air, tried to fly away. She was too slow. A wooden stake skewered her like meat to be cooked. And that was the end of Layla, and of me, and of everything. I burned my mask and costume and retreated into shadows of self-pity. Was it my fault? Yes. But also, if there were no villains at all, then it wouldn't have happened. My parents would still be alive, and Layla too. If there were no heroes, perhaps that would be enough? Villains only rise to bring natural parity. If there were neither of them, or nothing at all, then there would be peace. It took me months to come here, to gather the courage to visit her grave. The orchids in my hand are withering. I think of how different my life would be if I'd never grown crops, but if I'd destroyed them, if I'd rotted them, become a plague to everything that could grow. Because that's what I am, a plague. I kill and rot and destroy everything around me. I've tried to make my power something I'm not. I am two magnets repelling itself, life and death, growth and wilt. But if the magnets swap, if they match, then they bond, become unbreakable. My hand touches the grass. It withers, browns, and the waft of death, a breath to start with, but then a breeze, tickles my nose. The dead grass circles around me, spirals, spreads like ripples in a pond. The flowers on the grave curl up like lit paper, burning fast. I watch the rose I place down as it blackens and curves and crumbles. The willow at the edge of the graveyard lowers its mossy arms. Its back creaks. Brown bark becomes gray as the great tree thunders and falls. And still the circle expands. In my mind, I see the forest and jungles rotting, cracking, falling. I see the world itself, a green-blue marble. I channel everything into the earth and imagine the marble fading, the green becoming ash, becoming gray, becoming black. Even if I must do it one city, one country at a time, I will. I'll rot and ruin all until it matches the feelings of my own withered heart, until there is nothing, until there is only peace.